So, so we are going to discuss about marketing, sales, investment in factual using AI, which is becoming kind of the most sought after thing and technology that is changing the world. So let's start with Dr. Shivani. Would you like to put across what the journey of the sales and marketing has been since last couple of decades or so, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. Thank you, Tejpal ji. Let me introduce myself before I start. So, I've been in this industry for nearly 2 decades and saw the journey of how statistics has evolved to analytics and data science, and now we call it AI. So we have seen a lot of ups and downs in terms of this particular technology putting their mark in the system. And now we are where each and every organization is utilizing this to an extent, but still the adoption is around 20 to 30% in all the functions, including sales and marketing. So it's still a way to go. 70% is the probably future growth which we are going to see of AI in all the function, where scalability comes into the picture. So that is one thing which I have seen in my journey. I am currently part of Reliance Jio, where I lead a lot of strategic initiatives with telecom, sports, IPL, agriculture, these verticals. And I have worked with many organizations where I was leading the all different functions, AI function, AI particular vertical. So coming to Tejpal ji's question, I think era has changed, where we used to do a cold call of probably connecting with customer, identifying the right set of customer, doing cold call or hot call, and then taking the initiative from that stage. But things have changed right now. The kind of information we are gathering for each and every customer, either it is a B2B customer or B2C, it is humongous, with all the social data, social media data, all the digital footprint of data. We are, rather than working at a holistic view or a cold calling view, we are going for customization to personalization, where we know that what Shivani is interested to buy, rather than Shivani like people interested to buy, where we can differentiate the offering with respect to individual choices, individual needs, and drive all the sales and marketing efforts towards that, so that we get the maximum benefit out of that, rather than spray and pray technique. It is more and more, I would say, personalized marketing, where era is going now. So over to Deshpande ji.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Shivani ji, for putting that across. Swapnil, would you like to add something from your
definitely
to this?
Yeah, thank you, Shivani, for great introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Swapnil Deshpande. Just talking about marketing and evolution of marketing. Let's also spend a couple of minutes just to understand, what marketing is all about. Very simple terms for me. So for me, when I think about marketing, it's all about improving the perception and hence the brand identity of a product or service, so that the chances of selling something to you, significantly improve. So marketing is all about improving the chances of some product or services to be sold to you, right? Now, if you see the evolution of marketing, it's not just for decades. I'll actually go back to, centuries. So you might also think from a historic period, when kings and emperors would inscribe, great things that they have done. I would also call that as marketing, because today that's all remains, in your mind. So if you remember some great king of past, and all that remains in your mind is what is written about them. So that's also a kind of marketing for me, right? And again, if you see the period, let's say 1450 is when the first brochures and flyers were invented in Germany, right? So that's another, advancement of marketing that has happened, where it started moving from, a concept of writing glorified versions of somebody doing something, to really targeting something towards a specific segment of customers. Slightly moving further, we're talking about 1600s, where first paid advertisements, were kind of born in Italy, right? And until recent times, where we have seen social media and more importantly AI taking over the marketing world. So journey has actually been targeted, with the help of some preachers and authors, moving towards word of mouth, that people would indulge, to print, to television, to computer, to internet, and to possibly, like Dr. Shivani was saying, personalization, hyper personalization with the help of AI. So it's a great evolution that we have seen over multiple centuries, right? Particularly for last couple of decades, if I kind of zoom into, we have seen a remarkable shift in the overall way in which marketing has been done, particularly with the help of digital marketing and with the emergence of internet and social media, right? So, and in fact, I would also say that marketing is now so much ingrained in our daily life that the way you use a certain app is actually, reverse targets you the way marketing happens to you, for certain applications. So be it an example of the places you travel and how Google Map captures that information, be it the songs you listen and how Spotify knows what the song you want to listen to next, or be the videos you watch on Netflix. There's so much data that you actually generate in your daily life, which is actually being targeted. So it's a very fascinating world, that we have seen evolving. And like Tejpal ji was saying, the change happening in this area is so fast and so fascinating. So it's amazing to see what all possibilities it can come up in future. Back to you, Tejpal ji.
Great, great. Thanks for sharing that insight, Swapnil. It's good. I think I would just put it across something like saying that what we have seen over the years, between the centuries and the decades, what we were seeing was putting across sales as a output to building a brand and selling product and services, right? A company has to offer. The change that is happening towards now that we see is evolution, which has happened over a decade or so, is moving from brand image, creating of the brand image, to a personalized customer experience. That is where the major shift is started happening, and everybody wants to bring in the sense that the experience that the customer has is always a lasting impression. And if the customer has a great experience with the organization's product and services, you are bound with the customer for long term. And that's where the major shift has happened. And to enable that, what we are seeing is that earlier it was more about whether my sale campaign worked or not was the targeted result. Whether I received my ROI on my sales, how many customers I may have acquired, to saying that, okay, what my data is about the customer, how is the customer experiencing my product and services, capturing that information and giving back in the result, giving back the kind of experience the customer is looking for, and building that kind of thing. So changing the experience as the customer journey goes through with the product and services. That's where the major shift, the major change has happened over the last decade or so. And it's continuing, and it's the pace of this change has increased, because now the data points are at your fingertips. Earlier, it was difficult to capture the data. Now, with the technology, you have so many data points across your customer that you can actually envision and see how the customer is behaving with your product and services and give him the experience that he is looking for. Right? Great. Okay. So, Swapnil, could you put some light how this personalized thing, what we are talking about, how this personalization is going towards and happening towards with the current trends that you see, what's happening around that?
Yeah, sure. Just continue the line of thinking that you started, Tejpal ji. I think let's also understand the seismic shift that we are seeing in the overall marketing area before actually understanding about the technological advancements and investments that we are intending to do. So let's say I talk about two major seismic shifts that we see in the marketing space. One is what I call the segment change or segment shift. So over a period of time, you would actually think about, hey, you segment your customers. That's always been the case, but the segments were like large segments, like, hey, this is something would work for, let's say, South Asian people, or Indian people, or North Indian people, or let's say people around Delhi, or people around, say, Gurgaon. That used to be a very large segment, and like Tejpal you mentioned, that is actually moving to a segment of one, where an individual or a person who is, and that actually becomes a target So it's actually moving from very large to medium to small to in fact one. So that's a large shift happening from the marketing perspective. Second shift also happening is the measure of success of your campaigns. Right? So previously your measure of success would be, let's say, number of sales you have made or amount of deal you have done. To really nowadays changing, like Tejpal mentioned, the actual experience or the actual friction that is being reduced in the buying process. So marketing is not about selling X number of products to a customer, but it's actually moving towards reducing the friction in the process of buying through multiple interventions that a customer has to experience. So that's two fundamental seismic shift I would say we are seeing in the marketing. And again, like why it is happening, it is happening, coming to the original definition, it's all about improving your chances of buying a product or service. So now how these shifts are happening? These shifts are fundamentally happening from, again, data. Again, two things I'll talk about. One is the data. So again, this data is not something like somebody sitting on the end of your app and saying, hey, Swapnil needs to be targeted with X, because Swapnil has seen this movie, let me go and search somewhere and I'll kind of recommend Swapnil something else. That's actually not happening. It's actually happening is that the way intelligently your apps and services and systems that you are using around you are actually capturing the data based on the interactions that you are doing with them. Right? Again, on a side note, jokingly, you might have heard the a phrase that Google knows more about you than probably your spouse, or boyfriend or girlfriend knows about you. While it's a joke, it's actually a fact. Google knows much more about you, your habits, where you have been, what you have been doing, what kind of conversations you have been having, what data you have been using, what apps you have been using, what sites you have been browsing, almost everything about you. And what do they do about that data? They actually use that data to actually apply, like, Shivani was saying earlier, some machine learning algorithms, so that it's almost trying to find the patterns of what someone likes, what they like, what their lifestyle is, what are the choices, help you move from that large segment to really micro segmentation. And that micro segmentation actually becomes a really great food, for the new age marketing that we see around us for the products and services, right? So data is number one. Second is the technological integration, if I may say that way, right? Now, is Google the only consumer of that data? No, it is not the only consumer of data. That data is being used by multiple other companies for targeting their campaigns, with you. For example, how many times you might have used Google Maps? You're traveling, let's say, on a highway, and suddenly some message pops up that, hey, there's a restaurant, 3 kilometers further down. Probably that's because Google knows that you have been driving for last 6 hours. You might be tired. You might need a break. And hey, let me actually recommend you that particular restaurant, which actually might have the food you may like. So that ads, very quickly pops up. Or let's say if you go in a mall and as you are moving around, there's some, discount offer pops for for a shop which is really, let's say, 30-40 feet away from where you are. So that actually increases the chances of you probably buying or giving an attention because you are in that context, you're operating that context. So data is not only being collected, analyzed, or made available, it's also being integrated and used by multiple other companies to really target you with specific things that you possibly may need. And again, it's not proven, it's a prediction. It's also moving towards prediction. You may need certain things, right? So this is where I think, from data to integration to intelligence are the key sort of, I would say, backbone most companies are using for deciding what the next generation of marketing may look like.
Very well said, Swapnil. Very well said. Thank you. Would you like to, Shivani, Dr. Shivani, would you like to add some of your viewpoint from your experience and how actually this data is getting back to the various departments in the organization to bring a congenial environment for the customer?
Right. I think very well pointed out by Swapnil in terms of one. If we look for the current environment, we have tons of data available in digital form somewhere or other. So organizations are putting a lot of effort and money to integrate that data, come up to a kind of a create a customer 360-degree profile where we are connecting all the dots about customers. So if I talk about, for example, Geo, we have a lot of different verticals, and we are trying to create a kind of a unified profile that, okay, if Shivani is a customer in telecom, what is her activity? Is she a good customer? How much data is she using? How much voice call she is doing? What type of applications she is using? If she is a GeoMart customer, then where does she live? Where does the delivery happens? What time of the hour delivery happens? Or what type of her choices she make when she buys? Agio if she purchases. So it's basically we are trying to integrate the data of all in each and every detail about a customer, create a profile, what Swapnil was talking about, where we are talking about what customer prefers, what customer likes, where does customer spend more time, where does customer spend more money, what are their choices, if they are getting angry or they are getting upset about something, what are the things which is actually not giving the right experience to customers. So those details gets integrated on a hourly basis, where we are seeing that how the customer profile is evolving, then using that profile for all different functions. So as Tejpal ji was asking, that once this type of profile is created, it can be utilized for marketing promotions, it can be utilized for sales promotion, that okay, which customers have tendency to go and buy new things, which customers may not buy anything, but they will spend more and more wherever they are currently spending money, or which customers are very very price sensitive, let's not disturb them, let them do whatever they are doing at best. So identifying those characteristic of data and marketing with respect to their choices are very very important in today's environment. We have many different techniques available in today's system, which we call it recommendation system, where we build a lot of different AI models to identify one, lookalike customers. Lookalike customer is basically that, okay, Shivani has a type of a profile. Shivani might be new in the system, but we have someone else who has the similar characteristic, who is in the system. So in first 2-3 months, we will probably take whatever was the previous profile and recommend or probably use that for Shivani. But Shivani, once Shivani has her own data, then we will probably utilize her data to come up with. And we also have recommendation system. For example, if generally people get influence when their near and dear ones are going after something, right? So you would have heard this new app Wordle, right? That has been very very popular because a lot of social media conversations are going towards that, and when you see your friends and family doing that, you will get also inspired and do that. So lot of recommendation happens in terms of from your close knit community. If someone close knit family is doing, you have tendency to follow that, at least to start with. So that is one type of recommendation system, where you identify your close community and then recommend what community is following. Other is you identify the profile and then recommend what your personal choices are, and then recommend towards that. So those are the minimum two different sets of recommendation we give. Spotify is doing amazing job, where they also go to the detail of which genre you want to hear what time of the day. When you are driving, you want to probably hear hip hop because you want to be keep yourself being alive in a traffic congestion situation, but end of the day you would probably like to hear something which is very very soothing to you. So those choices also come into the picture if customer is able to give those traces to the as a data part. So that's the general process how we identify or build the models. One thing which I wanted to add with the previous discussions, when we measure customer accuracy, as I think Swapnil and Tejpal ji were saying, that it is not only related to how much sales are happening today, but the journey. So in the marketing world, there are four terms: ACPP. One accepted, second considered, ACPP, accepted, considered, preferred, and purchase. Right. So one, sorry, awareness, considered, One is awareness, how much awareness of the product you have. So for example, you are going for a new product in a geo ecosystem. So one, you have to create the awareness with your newspaper ad or your television ads or your YouTube ads for people to know about a new product. So one, how many people are aware about your product? How many people have considered to even spend money on that? Then how many people have preferred you over your competition, and actually how many people have purchased it? So that's a kind of a funnel line which we work in marketing and sales to the T, where we have measures at each and every angle to understand where the major gap is. It may be possible that your price point could be an issue. It could be possible that your competition could be issue. It could be possible that your product is amazing but people are not even aware about it, right? So those four measures are very useful for us to understand where the deep fall is happening in the funnel, and then probably address accordingly.
Very well put, Dr. Shivani. Very well put. In fact, these are the key aspects of any marketing or sales strategy is around the organization that happens. What I think I would add up one more point is that in the current trends or past decade or so, there was also a very shift, or the sales and marketing was also driven from a data aspects, in the sense that from the current sales data or a periodic sales information or a customer profiling, they were trying to do a forecastic predictions how the market will unfold and how their product and services will be perceived and how things will be utilized and their services and products. So it's not just a consumer based definition. I would say it's a B2B as well, B2G as well. That's where things have evolved in the current last decade or so. So the data collected were analyzed to create a forecasting. Okay, this is what is going to happen, and hence I should be creating such kind of product and services for the upcoming years. And now what we see is the trend is moving towards, as Swapnil was rightly pointing out, is from a segment to an individual. Whether it's a person or it's an organization, whether it's a B2B or a B2C or a B2G, the situation is the same. My customer is my customer. Whether it's individual, a government, or a business entity, is a customer, one entity. So how can I provide a customized services towards them so that they get the benefit out of what I'm delivering? I'm there for them. Right. This is where the switch seems to be happening as we go along, going into the future. So, Dr. Shivani, what do you think is the future that we perceive in this particular area, and how AI will come into play to create this kind of a experience, a personalized thing experience? That is where we are heading towards.
Right. It's a good point. If we look from futuristic or even current environment, I think the most important thing is customer experience. I think the way things are moving, if you want to maintain your customer base, increase customer base, you have to give them the best experience. Measure the experience, measure your marketing and sales promotions. People don't like to see bombarded messages. I think that era is gone. People don't want to see unnecessary messages if it is not catered to their requirement, to their taste, right? It is just like that you go to a restaurant and they serve the entire thali to you, no matter what you like, or you may not like a single dish, right? So that era is gone. That a la carte thing is where industry is moving, that people want to eat something. You have historical data about that, utilize that to go to the next level. Second, I think because everything is moving digital, right? So I think there was an era where we were going towards digital transformation. Then it has become data driven digital transformation. Now it is everything is AI driven digital transformation. The time we AI put in the as a driving force, we are trying to understand what all we want to do with customers. then derive your strategy. So customer is being the focal point of everything. Then you are taking a call that what should be your strategy. If customer is liking certain things, you have to define your marketing strategies towards that. So that is the place where it is going. Metaverse are going to be future of the technology, where the way I think we have seen that a lot of companies are spending in metaverse. Reliance has purchased a company a couple of days back. So everyone wants to create their presence in metaverse, because what we have seen in last 2 years, that we cannot have physical presence of people, customer everywhere, and corona can be 2 years, it can be probably more than 2 years, but technological aspect can give people freedom to be part of anything and everything. So for example, you want to see a Justin Bieber concert, it is happening in metaverse platforms. You can probably not have the exact same feeling as being in person, but probably close to that. You want to be part of the IPL match, you will get a very close feeling of what the way you get in the stadium itself. Similarly, it will come to your B2B marketing and B2C marketing also, rather than you meeting people digitally over the probably audio and video. Metaverse would be the third generation, which will create a more personalized connect with people going forward. So that's probably I see a technological aspect of it. Blockchain will change the way we are doing things technologically. That will get integrated with our base technology. The way AI has got integrated with all our functions, blockchain will also get integrated with all our functions very soon.
Very well put, Dr. Shivani. Very well put. In fact, Swapnil, what is, according to your understanding and experiences that you have gone through, what do you see the future trend with respect to AI in this area would be?
Yeah. Great perspective, Shivani. Thank you so much. I enjoyed all these examples you gave. Just again, right, from trends perspective, I think personalization will continue to, in fact, get into hyper personalization for me. I'll give an example. For example, if you have a house of four people, or four people have exact same mobile phone, exact same operating system, but if you go and check their, Google app on their phones, it's very likely that these all Google four Google home pages are going to be very different, and because these four home pages are going to be based on their likings, their history, what they have done, and all that, right? So here I feel, and the biggest drive behind hyper personalization is going to be machine learning. That is going to continue to play a very big role in, like Dr. Shivani was saying, the recommendation engine based on your profiles, right? So using ways like unsupervised learning or reinforcement learning models, they will actually make this whole personalization experience extremely, I would say, emotional, tied to what people feel, and that whole empathy also will start getting into that. So that it's almost like a, I may not, probably I'll be not doing justice, but it's almost like a trap that companies will set you in, that you will unknowingly get into without realizing you're already trapped, and it finds difficult to get out, right? Second thing also, right? Dr. Shivani talked about, blockchain and metaverse. I'll also talk about the phygital or integration of physical digital, world, because we are still humans, we still want to live in physical world. We still, be it corona or not corona, we still want to go out. Our minds, emotions still expect, good things to happen in life. So things like Amazon Go, like that you might have heard, will continue to become, prominent in my opinion, right? So and it will take away the friction, right? Again, like Dr. Tejpal is also saying, the whole friction and customer experience will continue to go down, where phygital also will play a role, right? Another thing that you will see is, in my opinion, the video marketing will continue to grab a lot of spots, in my opinion, right? If you, really recent examples, one you might have seen in last Diwali, if you're in India, where Cadbury actually promoted video advertisements of Shah Rukh Khan, where, depends on which area of India you are, you will actually hear the name of one of the local stores.
Right.
Exactly same advertisement, but with the help of AI, and the data and integration techniques I was talking about earlier, it was telecasted in such a way that they had almost 50,000 versions of the same ad, which was really customized, personalized to where you are. Another example you might have seen is, one of the videos of, say, a football match telecast where the pitch side screens that you have projecting very different advertisements based on where you are. For example, if you're watching the same football match in China, you will actually see advertisement in Chinese. If you are this part of India, you'll actually see some different content being, played on the pitch. So these are all, getting closer to how can the companies connect with you? How can they personalize all that content for you? Next thing I think about is mobile optimization, right? Will continue to, come in because before everybody gets into metaverse, and I agree with Dr. Shivani, someday everybody will start living part of their life, at least if not full, maybe not our generation, but maybe future generations will start living in metaverse. Mobile will continue to, grab a lot of space in the channels through which marketing will be done, right? Like the better smartphone penetration. The whole reason why it will happen is mobile is the place where all the companies are actually capturing almost all of your data. Let's be honest, right? If I want to put a stake, say that almost 90% of what you do, or maybe more than that, I'm probably being conservative, of all your habits, all your lifestyle, all your data is being captured through mobile. So it's absolutely natural for companies to target users through mobile.
Right. I
Um,
think just to add to this point, Swapnil, because it's a very important point, and because I come from telecom industry, I have a few numbers to share. So 86% of Indian population families, they have at least one mobile phone, and that is the only digital maximum product where you can reach out to customer, which is a two-way communication, right? TVs are still probably equivalent in that number, but it is a one-way communication mode where you can only probably show advertisement. But because mobile is a two-way communication and being 86% presence in India, that gives a lot of opportunity to do anything and everything using the mobile network. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, great point.
That's
Thank
a
you for
great
adding
point,
this data.
Shivani. Sorry, that's a great point, Dr. Shivani, to add. Apart from that, what I also see is the TV, which was supposed to be like one-way communication, is the game is changing there as well. You see TV being a digital connection, one-way communication connection is changing towards a two-way
Two-way
connection
connection.
communication, and you are moving towards Netflix and the likelihoods where you realize things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to one
Yes,
more point if I can. Um, so I also think marketing will shift towards sensible defaults for many people. The reason I'll tell you, for example, if you want to ask Alexa, hey Alexa, buy me a blue pen. Now behind the scene, what kind of blue pen, what brand of blue pen, is it gel pen, ball pen, fountain pen? How would Alexa know that? And what is the default? Which brand Alexa will order for you? And as life becomes more and more smarter, so you have smart devices, smart fridges, smart television, where you almost can make all your purchase decisions, the defaults are going to play a huge role. And in my opinion, a lot of companies, if they're not aware of how to play that game, will almost go and be wiped off the company from marketing because these brands would no longer be relevant, not be visible, and people wouldn't care about it. So it's important that not only we recognize the patterns of what's happening, but also for companies to actually invest so that not only they stay relevant, if not beating the competition, but at least stay relevant in this space.
very true, very true. In fact, I would put it across or complete a gist of what Dr. Shivani and Swapnil is talking about. If you realize that the AI is not only helping in just customer experience, but if you realize AI is touching upon how the companies or the organization does its marketing and its strategy around that, how they do sales and acquire customers and retain customers, and how operations team is able to give an experience post the sale or
Right.
the target of that, and how everything is getting collectively doing, instead of doing silos in each department, the information is being shared between the departments to give a unified experience and all that stuff, and that is where we are heading towards.
Right. I think that's a great point, Tejpalji. Just to add that ROI calculation for each and every marketing dollar spent is most crucial to understand that what is making sense to customer, where we are getting the better value proposition,
Right.
and then keep on improvising the our strategy is key in today's environment.
Correct. Correct. And that is where these things are heading towards. And yes, metaverse will, people will hop onto the metaverse thing and gradually will have experience. And I would not be surprised that we will start seeing hybrid kind of life model experiences where digital and real life start getting merged. If you realize there were early days, there were some movies which was created with this kind of an experience, but I think we are heading towards more of a reality now. Metaverse coming into play, and the organizations are coming into and connecting to that system. We will see those kind of personalized and those kind of experiences coming through, and the delivery, the marketing strategy, the sales deliveries, and the operations team will combine and work together to give an experience, unified experience of learning. That's where we are heading towards. I think that's a good thing to overlook, and this is where the sales and marketing investments will become more impactful, and we'll realize that okay, how the acquisition of the customers and the acquisition of their brands, and the best part that is going to happen gradually is if you realize. People generally don't buy products based on advertisements or the flyers or the information. They buy based on the bias that the years and years, as Dr. Shivani was pointing out, years and years put across. And that suddenly is also the organization have started realizing, and they are capturing this information to get that bias of that, and hence be able to deliver the rightful solution to the end customer. I think that's good. That's where we close the discussion around that. What do you say?
Anything to sum up, Mr. Singh, before I end the session?
I think the experience, the AI will definitely play a big role in the coming years because that is where the data which we were earlier not able to consume is the solutions driven from AI is helping us to consume and come up with decisions that are more relevant now for the business, for the consumers, both ways. And that's where things are heading towards, and the technological advancement in these areas will help deliver the right kind of products and solutions rather than just throwing up in the market and notifying only. Not a one-way communication, it's becoming more of a two-way communication and making the customer the central piece of the organization and integrating the customer into the working of the organization and products and services is the key aspect. That's where we are heading towards.
Thank you.